Hello and welcome to the Miko Bits show, and I'm your host, Miko Bits. And today I have an exciting show for you. It's with Stakewise and with Kirill from Stakewise. They are a Ethereum 2 staking financialization project. It's a pretty exciting project. Full disclosure: my fund, Gumi Cryptos Capital, is invested in Stakewise. But those of you who know me know that that doesn't greatly influence the way I think about and talk about exciting projects. So, I guess the thing that I want you all to understand, of course, as always, is this is a entertainment show. It's not intended to be investment advice. So, seek a licensed professional if you want investment advice. So, without further ado, here's Carol. Hey, nice having you.
Hi, Miko. Pleasure to be on the show. Thank you for inviting us over.
Of course, it's great to have you. So, tell us a bit about the problem that you solve, and at Stakewise.
Sure. So, Stakewise is an Ethereum 2.0 staking platform. And the main problem that we're solving is the barriers to entry into staking of Ethereum. So, if you do it on your own, it requires a large capital input as a start. So 32 Ether is no small feat, and for many people, it prices them out of the staking rewards. And the second difficulty is running the infrastructure, which can be quite burdensome for many. So what we do is we run the infrastructure on their behalf. We allow to deposit any amount of Ether into the staking pool that we run, and really we pass on the lion's share of rewards that the users earn with our product, keeping only 10% of the staking rewards to the service. And that is pretty much the sort of basic layer. On top, we financialize the stake. What it means is we sort of issue certificates, tokens that represent the stake in the beacon chain in order for people to use this capital productively elsewhere while it's actually still earning them staking rewards. So really excited to be out there in the market now. It's obviously early days, but we have a long road ahead of us, and I'm excited to be on this journey.
Yeah, so you mentioned it was a little early. So, what I'd love to understand are the numbers, right? So, are there any kind of traction numbers so far, any progress so far to report? And, what's the kind of status of your system in terms of numbers?
Absolutely. So we have been out on mainnet for just over a month, and launched publicly only 10 days ago. So in the time that we have been out on mainnet and out in public, we have drawn in around 18,000 Ether into the staking pool. And I think the number of unique addresses that are staking with us is just over 800. So pretty good numbers out of the gate, but obviously nothing that we can, stop and pat ourselves on the back about. We're looking for a larger market share, and it's just the next milestones that we need to achieve in order to bring this increasing TVL.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that it brings us smoothly to the next segment, which is to talk about your secret or competitive advantage, right? So I'd love to understand kind of what makes Stakewise exciting and different because, obviously there are other ways that people can pool their Ethereum stake or get in at a lower than 32 ETH number. So would love to hear your perspective.
Sure. So I guess the main differentiation is that so first of all, everyone on the market typically tokenizes the stake Ether capital. And what this means is the token is issued on the ETH1 chain in order to represent Ether that is earning staking rewards in the beacon chain. Uh, and this is done in order to allow people to utilize whatever staking capital they have in other DeFi protocols. So, for example, use it as collateral in Aave to borrow some other assets, or provide liquidity, or really just like try to use it as a wrap defer sort of primitive. Then what we do is we also do tokenization, but we respect the different, like we respect the difference between the deposit and the rewards in the beacon chain. The deposit that users make is something that is earning them interest, and the rewards is an unproductive part. So there are two assets that have these different cash flow expectations, and uh, everyone bundles these two into one token. So whenever you deposit, it starts accruing, it starts growing balance to reflect the accrual of staking rewards. And we didn't want to do this, so we split the rewards token, split the rewards into a different token. So what this allows us to do is to be more, allow users to be more capital efficient in DeFi. What this means is continuously have access to their staking rewards when the token is locked in the contract, and also save gas and they'll achieve compound staking. So they could sell their staking rewards and reinvest the proceeds to grow their stake. This is something that is not available by like the fundamentals of ETH2 until the phase of its development later on. But with our solution, it's actually possible. So that is the main differentiation. And on top come the small things. We obviously optimize the entry point for the users. So we minimize the gas cost of deposit. I think we have the lowest fee of everyone, according to my comparison. So don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty excited when users say that the gas fee is like the lowest that they have seen when trying out different projects. And generally just the simplicity of using our service. It's just a couple of clicks to deposit, and from there you just sit and watch your rewards grow without any additional complications.
Yes, and I guess in part this may be enabled a little bit by what you've done on the back end. So I'd be curious to talk to hear a little bit more about that, because I do believe that you kind of have some differentiation in terms of the back end and what you've developed. So maybe you can comment on that.
Sure. So in terms of backend, I guess our main advantage is the fact that we have been working on the infrastructure part of the project for over 7 months in various testnets. And what this has allowed us to do is build a system that is very resilient and is respectful of the edge cases that can happen due to client bugs or, for example, server failure and so on. So what we currently run with is a cloud infrastructure with auto scaling and failover. What this means is whenever the node requires more resources, we automatically provision more resources for it. And whenever a server goes down, we automatically spin up another one on its behalf with the near instant migration of validators that have been running on the failed server. Now, many people take issue with it because failover has been deemed cause of several slashing events in the beacon chain over the past few months. And we're very wary of that because we have been testing, as I mentioned, for many months before we went to mainnet. So the solution that we employ is that we don't over-engineer it. It works very well and is resilient enough for the purpose, but at the same time, it is not complicated. So that is the current standing. When we look into the future, then our main goal is to allow more people to run the infrastructure for our users, and this will be done through a new technology that is called secret shared validators. That I can probably tell you more in a different question.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind actually going there, just because it really teases my curiosity. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about the technology.
Absolutely. So in general, the secret. So if I were to maybe start with the current state of things, whenever you run a validator right now, if you run it on 2 different machines or 3 different machines, or you run it in a failover sort of structure without proper setup, what happens is if 2 different machines so the same validator on two different machines attests twice or like proposes twice, it will get slashed. A slashing is really a penalty for trying to tamper with the network because, and since this is not supposed to happen, you would be heavily penalized and kicked out. So obviously this leads to financial loss, not only of your principal, but also you forgo the rewards that you could have been earning this whole time. So definitely one needs to avoid it. At the same time, in order to achieve a good degree of resiliency, I would actually say great degree of resiliency, what you probably need to do for your users is run their validators on as many machines as possible in order to minimize a sort of single point of failure. So this is where the secret shared validators come in. The technology allows to run the same validator on different machines simultaneously. And the reason why it is possible is because the validators, like the same validator on different machines, starts working in sort of a multi-sig fashion, where once you have, say, 3 out of 5 instances of the same validator correctly signing a transaction, it is considered like accepted, and everything goes well. So what this gives you is this degree of resilience, because 2 machines can be down, but your validator can still be working properly and earning you money as intended. So for us, what it would allow is the introduction of new node operators into the protocol, where the same validators that are running on one node will be run on also other nodes, and if I don't know, 2 or 3, depending on the threshold we choose, where to go down, it wouldn't affect the whole system. So that is the sort of direction in which we're going, and we believe that this is the most effective solution for achieving decentralization and the safety in people's minds about how they stake their ether.
Yes, and your co-founder has a substantial telecommunications infrastructure background, so I think he's definitely got the mindset of like utterly reliable network systems. So I think that's an interesting background. But I think it sounds like, though, that the net effect obviously reduces the risk for users. But I would say that the thing that's really interesting becomes the 2-token model with respect to the economics, right? So I think obviously it's great that the infrastructure is reliable and won't be slashed, but I think that the user is more excited about earning better and earning, and having a better financial product, right? So I think, that's the nature of the competition. Obviously, there's other providers of pooling and other providers of this kind of ETH2 staking product, but I think the financial engineering is probably the most exciting. Would love to hear about kind of your sources of inspiration, as well as kind of your motivation. So, like, what's got you excited, and what kind of gets you up in the morning?
Right. So what gets me excited, and I guess I can not only speak for myself, but for our team, is the fact that we can simplify a huge process for people. So staking is no simple feat, and I mean, staking Ether is no simple feat, and to see that a lot of people are interested in it, but for the lack of capital or the knowledge or time to run the node themselves, they cannot participate. And this is something that gets me up in the morning. It is exciting to know that a person with no experience in this can come in and use a very simple financial product in order to earn something like 7.7% on their capital right now. This is the staking APY in network at the moment, less our fees, and that is something that is exciting in my opinion. We can go on like a sort of high level. I could go on a high level sort of monologue about how this enables like financial independence and so forth, but it's definitely just this simple. It's great to know that you are solving a huge pain point for people. With regards to tokenization, this is something that is more advanced for many users, but at the same time, this is what DeFi wants and needs. So the dual token structure allows to squeeze out maximum returns from Ether staking. And that is because you can do compound returns as one strategy. As another strategy, whenever your token is locked as collateral, what helps is you can pull the rewards from the contract like on almost a continuous basis, subject to gas fees, and like restake it relatively frequently in order to boost your capital and increase your overall returns. And obviously, with the sort of like governance structure that we're proposing and the community participation, there are also like SWISE, our governance token rewards on top. So definitely many things to be excited about in the morning and at night as well. I could say that not only it wakes me up in the morning, it also keeps me up at night in a good way.
Oh, that's terrific. I'm excited to hear about all of these things. I mean, so in a sense, then the governance token represents even a third token in the model, right? So, you've mentioned that the tokens, so what's the current status of SWISE and the governance token, and how do people, how do people get engaged in it?
Right. So at the moment, we are preparing to launch it. And what is happening right now is the early adopters campaign that is ongoing to really draw in as many people as possible into our community. So what this means is whenever you deposit right now, you automatically participate in the distribution of SWISE simply based on the size of your deposit. So with SWISE, what you will be able to do is certainly vote on our platform, and we're very excited to have to be among the first to adopt a SafeSnap module that was recently released by Gnosis. What it allows to do is it allows to vote without spending gas, but at the same time, it allows the transactions to be executed on chain and verified with the community. So this is really a degree of decentralization and transparency that was very difficult to achieve before, and we're glad that our users will be among the first to enjoy it. And looking forward, we have exciting things planned for SWISE. I wouldn't go into much detail about it right now, but we're thinking of creating an insurance sort of mechanism that would allow to stake SWISE in exchange for like certain rewards for people and have this internal insurance for everyone who is staking with it.
Wow, that's exciting to hear about, and I'm sure my audience will really want to know more about SWISE in the future. So, how about my next segment is called Shout Outs, and it's really about kind of recognizing people, either who you admire or who you owe a debt to or who are, basically who you're a fan of, like, anyone kind of in the industry, including teammates, so if you have any shout outs to make, now's the time.
Right. So I guess my first shout out would go to my teammates actually, because we have an amazing team who are working towards a common goal day and night, despite the fact that, various things come in the way. We're dealing with it proactively. And, even when a person is ill, for example, like it just happened last week, a person was ill, but still working on the project no matter what, because execution is first and foremost. So definitely shout out to Dimitri in the first place, and Vlad has also been helping us out with the project. Otherwise, in the DeFi space, I definitely admire a lot of people, and it's been great to meet many of them along the way when we were building the product and looking for integrations for it right now. I'd probably say that the biggest sort of help and shout out that I would probably want to make is to Avishai Ovadia, who is the principal at Collider Lab, the entity that got in touch with us and helped us to to really get more traction with the fundraise. That was an important milestone. But on top of this, there's a person called Lito Cohen, who is a community manager for a platform called Crypto Testers, and also DeFi airdrops and several others. And he has also given us invaluable help in connecting us with different people. And many times this has only been going in one direction, unfortunately for him, yet. So yeah, definitely a shout out to him. Otherwise, Miko, thank you for having me. It's a big shout out to you to for hosting us and giving us a platform to speak about the product.
I appreciate that, and I think it's really great who you're focused on. I think it's not always kind of the biggest names, and in a sense, the segment is about the people who really kind of deliver and people who are really kind of doing the work. So, I really like the mindset. I like what you're focused on, and I think, there's also room in the show for, shouting out to the Vitaliks of the world, or, to the people who we just owe a deeper sense of gratitude to. So, I think it's a big ocean. There's a lot of ways to take that question. So, one of the things I also like to do is to talk a little bit without providing any kind of investment advice, but, about underappreciated tokens. So, if you have any projects, I call it pocket picks. So if you have any pocket picks, things that you like or admire, definitely that's a good thing to look into here.
Right. So, like personally, I'm quite interested in looking at index projects because lately with Stakewise, I mean not lately, in the past half a year at least, I have had very little time to like follow the fundamentals of many projects and the prices and so forth. So index products have been a go-to to sort of fill in this like knowledge gap because they give a wide exposure. Otherwise, I'm quite excited about Bancor, to be honest. I really like what they're doing with the Vortex system, even though I think it is like yet poorly understood or perhaps underutilized. I think in the future it has pretty good potential. And yeah, I'll probably focus on these two at the moment.
That's exciting.
That would be my picks.
I think we'll have Bancor on the show a little bit later, and I do think that it is. I think they're a little underappreciated for having invented effectively, AMM. I think they're a bit of an unsung hero, but I do think that they've still got a little bit of kick in them, so I think it'll be exciting to watch. As far as indexes, how do you see DeFi indexes? I mean, obviously I think the great granddaddy is DPI or DeFi Pulse Index. I think Set Protocol provides a number of indices or products of that nature. Do you have any particular sources of indexes? And, I do think indexes are, in some ways related to the spirit of my show, which is one of the things we like to do in the show is help people keep up with DeFi, since just doing that is like a full-time job. So, indexes also perform a similar function. So, where do you source where do you get indexes from? And, what do you kind of look into from there?
Right. So obviously the DPI and SET have been the go-tos, but lately I've also been looking into indexed finance, and what they have going on there is they have an index of, you'd probably call it like small cap tokens, which have a potential to to like break the mold and shoot to the sky. So I've been looking into that. But otherwise, in general, I think I considering I'm taking enough like risk exposure with running a venture, it's probably prudent for me to keep my risk appetite, humble. So I'm going for the blue chips otherwise.
Yeah, I think it's great to get a little bit of the mindset. I think for my audience, it's interesting to hear about index finance. And, obviously with all assets, there's sort of, potentially smart contract risk. There's potential counterparty risk, in the case of any form of centralization, in any form of kind of management or rebalancing of assets. So there's definitely things, because that typically an index will have some kind of an intermediary, whether it's a smart contract or whether it's a fund manager. So everyone should kind of do their own homework, but at the same time, I think that when you think about it from the financial side, I think diversification is important, and I think time in the market is important, right? So what I've been noticing as I solve problems for my friends is I've been noticing that if you just take the time to deeply research every single thing, then you pretty much lose the amount of time you spent in the market. Right. So I think a first move for a lot of people who haven't done a ton of homework might be to look into an index of some kind or a reputable index of some kind. So I really appreciate your perspective. So the next segment is called The Big Idea. So I'd love to hear kind of like your broad vision. I know you just touched the edge of it when you were talking about what motivates and excites you. So I think you touched the edge of it in terms of financial empowerment and inclusion, but I'd love to kind of hear your version of what the big idea and big vision is.
Right. So I guess on the on like the emotional side of it,
Yeah.
I would probably say that it is indeed the financial inclusion and getting people some passive income and without breaking a sweat and worrying too much about smart contract risk, constantly juggling your capital from different places, between different places and so forth. So it's kind of a set it and forget it product. And I think in that sense, it is great, especially if you believe in Ether as an asset long term. Then from the sort of tech side, I'd probably say that the big idea is to get our token to the tokens, but the deposit token in general, to become the primitive for staked Ether. So here, really, what is great is you could get exposure to ETH yield by simply holding it. So it represents just the deposit. So whenever you buy it, at the moment, whenever you buy it, it doesn't contain any unproductive part that are the rewards. So you're not losing any of your capital because of that. And what is then great about it is that it becomes a version of wrapped Ether that is also immediately accruing some returns. So for us, the big idea is to get the token accepted into everywhere as an alternative to Ether. But by doing this, we will definitely achieve much more capital efficiency because you wouldn't need to like apply whatever Ether you hold into some project to start earning yield. It would start earning your yield automatically, and then you can put many things on top of it. So that is the end sort of direction in which we're going with our Ether staking product. And certainly once we achieve that, we'll look to other chains.
Yeah, and I think, to me, the thing that's exciting about this is really kind of the net result, right? So when you talk about things like, ultimately what this has to do with is it has to do with putting the assets to work kind of in an economic sense, right? So obviously the staking principle in the long term has to do with kind of securing the Ethereum 2 network. So that's the kind of like labor that you're participating in. But I think the really interesting thing becomes kind of how do you maximize the financial result, and how do you kind of minimize the risk, and I think you have a kind of an economic background in order to help, really kind of people grok the real true impact of this kind of innovation.
Yeah, I agree with you. And with regards to participating in securing the network, I think it's an important aspect that people shouldn't forget. But at the same time, it's rather difficult to like comprehend. It's typical whenever you participate in a group to like not feel responsibility for what the whole group is doing because you're just one part of it, right? So I'm not sure how much of a motivation there is for people who like stake. They think now that I'm participating in securing the network, I feel great about it. Maybe some do, but I believe the majority don't, and we really need to like. Of course, we need to address both, but the financial part of it is probably, at least to us, is more important.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But I think the core principle is very much almost like a banking principle in the sense that, people are not kind of statically holding, right? So I think, in really I think the edict in crypto up to this point has long been kind of hodl and buy the dip, right? Those are kind of the commandments, right? But the thing that's kind of interesting about yield, and especially kind of staking yield, is that you're really also trying to put the capital to work as much as possible, right? So instead of just kind of statically holding it in a cold storage, you're actually kind of doing something formal with it, right? And I think the thing that's kind of exciting about the, Ethereum staking projects is that, I think in the long run, you're making a commitment to that. And I think the thing that's funny about it is that these kind of contract locks, I think, actually will impact the circulating supply and the economics of Ether. I mean, given that you have a bit of an economics background, I'd love to kind of hear what your perspectives are on Ethereum supply, especially in light of London hard fork and proposals like 1559. So I'd love to hear about your kind of vision for Ether supply and kind of the economics of the Ethereum blockchain, and whether you think 1559 will result in kind of a deflationary pressure and therefore more scarcity of Ether.
So I'm a big proponent of not sharing my opinion until I have done some like very explicit calculations. So
Oh, I see.
I, I would probably shy away from like giving okay, actually I can give an opinion, but I would shy away from giving an
Grand
like
prediction.
yeah, grand prediction. Thank you. So like intuitively, I believe that it can definitely help like rebalance the supply demand relationship in the Ethereum ecosystem. But at the same time, I also believe that uh, the the main price driver should really be adoption, and of course EIP 1559 kind of ties into this because the more adoption, the more gas, the more if we burn, right? But at the same time, yeah, I'm not sure how big of a inflationary pressure this will have on the price. I'd probably say that fundamentally, I tend to look at things fundamentally. I just like Ethereum fundamentally, like everyone else. I don't think that I have a strong opinion about a certain thing in what's in store in terms of the milestones for the ecosystem's development. Just like on the tech side, it's definitely the adoption through all of the financial products that are emerging in DeFi. Definitely, projects like Aave trying to bridge the gap between traditional finance and the decentralized finance are going to do great things for the adoption, both bringing in institutionals and also bringing in retail folks if they manage to solve the problem of, for example, how to get a mortgage in crypto. So there's a lot of capital lying around and is just waiting for the right time to enter the Ethereum space. And I'm adamant that it will happen sooner than later. But at the same time, to like pinpoint the exact time and pinpoint the exact figure for what the price will be and how it's going to happen, I'd probably not have the guts to do this.
No, I really appreciate it. I think it's a very well reasoned and respectful answer, and it characterizes you as kind of a more of a fundamental first principles thinker and someone who kind of builds a good robust model before making any declarations. So I think that feels good. So tell me a bit about the roadmap. This is kind of like the last segment, so we'd love to hear about what's coming up. Obviously, you have some huge milestones coming up, so I'm very excited about it. You're obviously in the early liquidity program with SWISE, so people who are staking with Stakewise now are getting novel governance token reward, but like what's around the corner?
Right. So first of all, it's moving the whole pool structure to non-custodial setting. What this means is just really having nothing to do with the capital that users put into our pool. Right now, the solution is to have a multi-sig for it. And some people like it, some people don't. And at the same time, we really want to make people feel as safe as possible about using our product. So non-custodial staking is priority number one. And that is obviously on top of the SWISE token launch, which you already mentioned. Like looking forward after this, it's decentralization of infrastructure. It is the creation of vaults that can automate the process of compounding and restaking and leveraging your capital in Stakewise. So we really want to roll out simple products that at the same time are relatively complex under the hood, just in order to ease the entry into earning this staking yield, native ETH yield for users who don't have the like technical background or like financial background for it. So these are the priorities. If I were to align them into like a timeline, I'd probably say that it's SWISE token launch, then after that liquidity mining campaigns, like you have mentioned, then it is non-custodial staking, then it is vaults and decentralization happening sort of in parallel. So plenty of exciting things for us to look forward to and work on. And we just invite everyone who is interested in what we're building to join us on this journey. And don't forget that we really stay true to the decentralization sort of aspect, where we distribute the majority of the governance tokens to the community and really want to make it an inclusive governance system with SafeSnap. So please join along for the ride.
That's exciting. It's great to hear. And what are the best ways to follow you and the project?
Right. So the best ways are to follow us on Twitter. So it's Stakewise_IO. Otherwise, please join our Discord or Telegram, where we're always active and offering support and speaking with various people in our community about anything, be it cybersecurity, yield farming, or occasionally cats. Who knows? It's the internet. So Otherwise, we also have the blog on Medium, where we publish the think pieces about tokenization and getting started with Stakewise, basically giving you as much information as you need to understand what's happening under the hood if you want to learn about it. So these are the mediums.
That's great. Thanks so much. This has been an exciting show. Obviously, ETH staking, financialization, it's an extremely vital topic, especially for the future of Ethereum and the future of yield on Ethereum. So I think you've really landed in a very interesting spot. And, I really think you have quite a bright future. So, thanks so much for joining my show, and, look forward to hearing more about Stakewise in the future.
Right. Thank you for the kind words and for giving us a platform to speak. It's been an exciting time speaking with you. And have a great day.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Mikobit.